Okay, we are on Mixed Minus Podcast. Matt McQueenie here with Andrew Pangert in studio. Last we saw him was on Skype with a headset on. Now we can actually hear the mellifluous tones of his voice
That was,
done through a real mic.
yeah, it was certainly a different time last time. We did it through a video gaming headset and microphone.
It came out pretty good though, right? You heard
I
yourself
think
pretty
so.
good.
I was pretty happy with
The
it.
problem was the person talking,
Oh,
according to you, right?
yeah. Well, that's a different
You're
story.
gonna get rid of the you-knows?
Yeah. You're funny that you say that, because I completely forgot about that.
Oh
And
no.
all I did was count how many you-knows I said. I guess that's a tick I have, but I must have said it 50 times last podcast. But no, I appreciate it. It's fun to be here. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
it's awesome. So what are you listening to these days?
What am I listening to? Oh man, that's a great question. Excuse me. You bring up a fascinating point. I've actually been
Point the
since
mic down maybe a little bit to yourself.
since
There you
the
go.
since the last time we spoke, I lost about excuse me, I lost about 40 pounds.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, I was a big fat dude.
When did I see you last? I guess I didn't see you. I just like talked to
Well,
you through the phone and text and
I kind of wore it well, I guess.
well, you're a
And
tall guy, so 40 pounds is like
yeah, it's not that big a deal. And you asked me what I'm listening to because I've been working out a lot. Been working out like 4 days a week, and just whatever music gets me into that.
hmm. Are
Trying
you
to.
still doing rap?
Yeah, you know what? It's on my playlist. You're I don't know. You're I like the much more of a fan of the my time frame of rap, which is anywhere from 99 to 2004. You
That's
know.
it. Is that like Nelly?
No, well, that's
Was that
that
before?
is you're on.
That's not yours though.
No, no, I certainly everyone was listening to that at the time, but wow. No, I don't know. A lot of Jay-Z. I love Jay-Z.
Jay-Z's still the
He's the
man.
standard. Yeah, and he's been doing it for so long and doing it well. Not a fan particularly of his newer installments, but
Or his agents.
yeah.
His being an agent. Although he got a good deal for Cano. I don't know how that worked.
Well, Cano. I don't even want to talk about Cano.
No?
I was expecting to like him for the next 10 years or so.
But that was
And,
probably a good deal to not take though.
yeah. It's funny. We we all listen to sports talk. We all listen to because we try to get our fill for our sports fanaticy that
Fanaticism.
fanaticism.
There you
Thank
go.
you. That we have, and we all love talking about people's contracts and this and that. And
We like the off season and that kind of stuff almost more than we like the in season. How much baseball
Yeah.
have you even watched this year?
I've probably watched none.
Isn't that
Yeah.
sickening?
You can blame me. You call me a front runner if you like, but when the teams aren't good. I mean, as much as I love Derek Jeter, it's I still haven't. I didn't go to the ballpark at all this year. Last year or the past couple of years, I went at least 3 or 4 times,
Really?
and this year it just hasn't haven't had the chance to get out there.
I think there's a worry that the Yankees are probably. I'm a Mets fan, so I completely understand with that sentiment that they are just when your team's bad, it's not even that you're a front runner. It's just that you don't have very much time to devote to enough things as it is. So if you're not going to have something that's a competitive product, like for instance, it's not like you're a front runner for TV. When a TV show is great,
Sure.
you're watching it.
Yep.
Sometimes a TV show jumps the shark. Sometimes it loses a writer who was the main guy and he jumps off to another thing you end up liking. But it can go bad and you can leave it and you're okay.
Yeah.
Why is sports any different? Why does this fanaticism like this? Why are you only a fan when you're with them in lean times? I never understand why that's this great thing. I think that's the teams themselves almost creating a reason to make you feel bad that you're not subsidizing their losing times.
Sure.
I mean, that's a tough thing. Now, I do feel very bad. Is Jeter the first player who you're almost totally wistful about now when you think about the fact that I mean, I looked at the years, and I think I was in 8th grade or the start of our freshman year of high school when his first season was.
Sure.
It's half a lifetime ago for us.
He's been really an incredible figure. I mean, when you consider the age that we live in, he's been a
He's flawless.
what appears to me to be like you said, he's flawless. He goes through and he doesn't get in trouble. The perception of him is that he plays the game right and he treats his fans right and
dates every woman there is.
Sure.
That's like the top woman of the time without flaunting it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want you to know, in fact.
Yeah. And that's I guess wouldn't we all give everything we had to be Derek Jeter? I mean he's a great individual.
And his apartment's awesome.
Did
you ever see that HBO special? It was the time of his 3,000 hit. And It was like the lead up to the 3,000 hit, and HBO Sports does the most unbelievable documentary work ever, from Hard Knocks to
I agree.
Real Sports, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable shows. That's the sports I like now, or the stuff behind the scenes, the bigger things. I love playoffs still if my team's in it. If your team's not in it, it's not that interesting. I mean, really, the big key to sports is that your team is in it, because that lights up your interest in it, and that makes you watch the other teams because you want to see, like, when the Yankees were good, you want to see the Red Sox play another team because you want to. It's almost scouting in your head, and you're into it because you want to see if they're going to get closer in the standings, or if the Yankees can get closer because the Red Sox lose, and it just gets to everything is your team being in it, and I think with Jeter being out of it, it's really kind of sad. Although there's some magic. I know they won in 2009 in the new stadium. There's some magic that's lost from the Yankees, and I think maybe it died with George Steinbrenner.
The people of our age might say that I don't know what made it die, but when I remember very clearly going to all of the Yankee parades, skipping school, going, and getting out of, we were in high school at the time.
At school.
Yeah, exactly. That was the day where no one was there. And but I mean, how much of this thing is just a perception because of my age?
Exactly right.
I don't know that the younger fan base isn't enjoying it as much as we did, and just because the team is pretty mediocre, I guess you could say. But for me, I mean, things change and life changes, and you just don't have time to dedicate to watching sports. You want to play it more than you want to watch it. That's
the watch is hard. It's such a commitment.
Yeah.
That's why football's, I think, the adult sport. You have to just. It can still be tough because it's hard. It's easier though to tell a significant other or people who rely on you during the week. It's easy to say, look, I just need to be able to devote. Especially here, we have two teams that you can have a kind of rooting interest for. I know a lot of people don't, but I like to watch both. But at least you have two teams, so you can watch. You pretty much have 1 to 7 covered, and then you're watching the other games at the same time. But you can give that gamble's okay. That you can give the one day, and then the rest of the week is just kind of, you're not missing out on anything.
Yeah.
Baseball is just, and basketball was my first love as a sport. It is hard to get up for regular seasons. Regular seasons are marketed for teams to make money. It's not must watch. It's never must watch until the playoffs and until like really games 5 through 7. And that's a tough thing. And when you grow older, when sports were such a big part of your life, and they were like your organizing principle in many ways, like watching the game, going to games, talking to everybody about it. I don't know about you, but I've kind of gotten to a sad place where I almost listen more to sports radio than I actually watch the games.
I'm the same way. I don't know what it is about it exactly, but yeah, you're right.
And so like you could talk about the teams, you didn't even watch them.
It's scary because I find myself doing that too, especially when. I mean, how much would I love to have the time to be able to devote an entire Sunday to watching, all the games or buy the NFL package like I used to, and just, You
feel selfish.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very hard, and it sort of saddens me a little bit that I'm aging out of it a little bit.
Sucks.
It saddens me, and the real sad part is I don't know if it sucks yet, but the thing that makes me feel the worst is, will I have something moving to the next step that will fill the passion to the level of it that sports did? Or like you said, was that just a kind of a measure of age? Like, was anything you were going to be into at that time? Because really, whether it was video games for you, music, music for me, playing music, sports, maybe it's a trend that we were so into it at that age. Maybe it really is just the way the chemistry of the teenage mind works and the growing and the being exposed to new things. Maybe that's just that kind of key point in time where that's the only time where you have that.
Wow. I never thought of it that way. I always try to, you bring up an interesting point about the growing mind, and trying to figure out who you're going to be. I mean, how much time do you spend, when you're filling out your college application? What am I going to major in? Where am I going to do? What am I going to do for the rest of my life?
And your poor head had to figure it out.
And you're playing
17.
You think you think that you're playing high school basketball, and you think you're gonna move on to play college ball and to the pros, and like you've got all these dreams in your head, but it's about you're right. So I think a lot of it has to do with that. Like you're developing, so you have all these interests, and you don't know, and you also have unfortunately a lot of time to devote to it, a lot more time, and a lot fewer people depend on you. You don't have the work responsibility. You don't have your home responsibility, your family responsibility. So I feel like a lot of that might unfortunately, like you said, it's sad. It might drift away a little bit. And I'm trying to you try to hold on to it as best you can. And
then you decide, and then you're losing things that you don't necessarily think you should lose, but kind of the adult world makes you lose it. And I've had a big problem with that, and that's been a theme of doing these a lot, is this whole idea of our work week and how insane it is,
yeah,
and how little's left over, and how on your final day, hopefully when we're 100, like you look back and are you going to say that was all worth it, or is your mind just going to go, wow? But there's no other option, obviously. But like that often worries me, and it worries me if in a couple decades, we change the way we see work.
Yeah.
Both from external pressures, from the way the markets work, that there's really not as much space for human workers anymore. There's, one person can now do 5 or 6 people's jobs from the past if they're using computers and things like that. You work a lot with that kind of stuff with
Sure.
Fire things, fire systems. And will we reach that point by necessity, and will we look back and go, that was so unfair that now we're working 4-hour days? Because I think if we worked even a 4 or 5-hour day, can you imagine being able to leave work even at 3, a 6-hour day? The difference in quality of life potentially that you would have, no matter what your job is, no matter how much you love it. We all have a lot of things we love to do, and often we can only do it on the fringes of the day. You have to get up way early to do it, or you do it late at night, and that's not your freshest time. Your freshest time you're giving to the day, to your work.
I've been. It's funny you bring that up. I've been fortunate through my career that I've lived very close to where I work, and that's been something that's very important to me for a long time. And I couldn't imagine the hour and a half commute that is after you've worked your long day. Me, I get in the car and I drive 5, maybe 10 minutes away. I'm home. I'm home. I know, that I always have that. But when you introduce, especially in this area, rush hour and getting back, or that's got to be incredibly just stressful to and depressing to know that arbitrarily 7 days a week you're commuting 14 hours of it, or no, well, the math is bad. 5 days a week.
5 days a week, yeah.
Either way you look at it, I mean that's a lot of time that just is gone.
Totally.
So I've been fortunate enough to always try to live very close to where I work. I'm pretty strict about that, which is good.
But even that said, you still are doing your passions, your idle curiosities, I guess I'd say, the things you like to do for fun. We still do them on the fringes of the day.
Yeah.
When we're not at our best.
Yeah.
Aren't you sometimes at work when you're at your best and you think about all the things you're going to do later when you get home, And then by that time, the day's got the better of you.
Yeah, absolutely. It happens all the time.
And
Yeah.
that's a tough gamble, and I wish we could fix that. I have no problem with working. I'm not saying that I don't that working's not a big thing, and you do need to do it, and it is fulfilling. It does fill something there, but you look back a lot of times. Sunday is the day where you're usually the most rested because you had 2 nights where you didn't work, and you're fully awake and you feel great. Start of a week, you still have a day off, and you start to think about all the things that you're gonna do, and it all gets away from you.
Yeah, you're
like,
right.
Like why when we're youngest is that the time where we get the most opportunity for idle stuff? Why isn't there more of a I just wish there was something like Google had, where they had that whole idea of 20% time. So people who worked at Google, I think they got rid of it, unfortunately, so maybe that hurts it. But people who worked at Google worked 4 days a week on their Google things, and then Friday was for doing your own things.
At work, though.
They'd go to work, they could do whatever they wanted, though.
Okay.
And the funniest thing, some of Google's best innovations came from those Friday days.
Sure.
The Google News, Gmail, something else. I forget what it was, a bunch of things. But there's something about the idle time and having a little space to think. Amazing things happen there, and I think we're robbed of that with how we live right now, and then how overwhelmed we are with technology. And I'm saying this as someone who's got iPad, iPhone, freaking a Google tablet now, computer, a studio.
Yeah.
But
well,
yeah.
You know what's funny? You really have to feel inspired to. I feel like I do my best work or even my best playing, or whatever it may be, when you're inspired to do so. And if you're working and you feel like you're not inspired to enjoy it or to create something or give something back, whether it be to your company or to society. I feel like if you're not inspired to do that, it's you might start to end up feeling like like you mentioned, pretty down about life in general. And but no, I feel great these days. Everything is I'm enjoying myself quite thoroughly, and work is great. We're busy. I'm enjoying a lot of things. I'm enjoying my family, my daughter. Everything's working out very well.
So you feel fulfilled?
Yeah, I do.
Now, what's the scoop on kids?
Kids. Well, I only have one, so I don't know what the scoop on kids is. I know
You
what
probably
the
need
scoop on,
one to know.
I know what
them.
the scoop on a kid is. So I don't know how different it is to have kids because no, you know what? A kids changes things for you instantly. I mean, right away you realize that everything you kind of knew about the world is a bit different. I know it sounds pretty cliched, but yeah, right away you know that there's more to this world than just like we talked about, all these things, work and play and that kind of thing. Yeah, my daughter's I guess she's 2 and well, she's going to turn 3 in December. So
Wow.
It went by pretty quick. That's the first thing you're going to realize, or will realize. And yeah, it's quite fulfilling to have someone actually look up to you as much, because you live your whole life, and if you don't have someone who relies on you like you do, and when you're a parent. So it's very different. Yeah.
How about the before and after? Like, what your thoughts going into it weren't as important once it happened, right? Like you probably had all the worries about your time and that it was going to be taken over, and everyone tries to scare you about, get ready for this, good luck doing this, get your sleep now,
Yeah, well, I'm actually quite lucky. Our daughter, I mean, she slept a lot. I mean, right out of the gate. I mean, she was sleeping through the night pretty well. I mean, we had our nights like everyone will. But no, changing right. I mean, right from day one, you realize that your life is obviously very different. I mentioned that, but your time and your efforts, you're gonna feel, like I mentioned before, inspired to spend them and do them with with your child, so that's a good thing. It's never I never looked at it as a bad thing. A lot of people, yeah, it's like a club you join when you become a parent of, oh, you better sleep, or all that stuff is as true as it is. To me, it's like it's so insignificant because everything else is worth it. You
It's
know.
like a huge drug hit, almost like a nice. Like there's a euphoria. It seems like that just it. You don't understand it with other people's kids until you have something that looks like you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the big key? That like they look like you, and that especially early on, their entire well-being is reliant on you.
Yeah. No,
That's
it is.
scary,
It is.
exciting.
It is exciting, and one thing that I can say is that it's funny you sit there and really the first, I wish I could really remember the time frame, but the first couple months of it, um, really, my daughter, she just it's very easy. I think it's easy. I mean, she lays there, she smiles, she giggles, she eats, she goes to the bathroom, she cries, all these things. It's very simple. Um, and as you get more advanced and like all you want to do as a parent is you want to see her, you want to see her roll over. You want to see this. There's certain milestones that you look, excuse me, you look forward to. And you realize after every single one of them that you're like, oh man, I wish I had the old days where she didn't move at all, or where, when she starts rolling over, and you're like, oh my God, I have to actually like, like she's gonna roll over and roll off the bed, or something like that. It's funny. You always like you want her to do more. You want her to start crawling, and then when she starts crawling, it's like she's all over the place, and uh, so all these things. I mean, the only thing you can do is really cherish what you have at the moment, and don't let it get don't let your head get too ahead of yourself.
Is it like I'm not trying to equate a human being with a device or anything, but
Yeah.
is it almost like getting a brand new for you, like a brand new video game you couldn't wait to have, or a new console and like you can't wait to get home to
Uh,
see it and use it, or they're just
no, that
is it a struggle?
you're onto something there because when you do have something like that that's new in your life, or a new something to play with, or you all you want to do is you want to get in the car from work, you want to get home, and you want to do it, you want to jump right into it. So the same thing happens when you have a baby, because you just want to run home, you want to see her, you want to hug her, you want to kiss her. It's it's I don't know quite how to describe it. Do I want to
It's unrequited,
yeah.
right? Like it's not when you meet someone to potentially marry or a girlfriend, like you need to build up to love. And for men, it's really building it up to even say it, even if you
Sure.
feel it.
Yeah,
It's almost with a child, like they say, it's there and it's just it's love at first
it is.
sight.
Yeah, you're right. There's no there's yeah, I never thought of it that way. You just jump right in, and there's no and really she feels the same about you. That's the important part. I mean, you get this attachment with your kids that it's like it's something very different than I've ever experienced. That's the only way I can describe it. It's amazing.
And when you had your child, was it one of those things they say you have to stay in the hospital a couple nights?
No, I mean, we had our daughter, and she was very good. I mean, it was cold. It was December. It was cold, and the first thing that strikes you is you immediately feel how much you don't actually know about being a
I could
parent.
imagine.
Right when you get in that situation where I can't even, there's no books or there's no amount of preparation that you can do, unless, of course, you've got nieces or nephews or something like
Even
that.
that doesn't help. They're right out of the womb.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
their heads are like not formed. They're
So
soft.
fragile. Like, when you're holding her, that like you hold her entire life in your hands, and it's like, the whole thing is. I remember very well. I mean, you get so prepared as much as you read and this and that, and then right when you actually have to get her even dressed. That's one thing that we struggle with, like, putting her right in the car first thing, like it's time to go home. It's like, okay, it's cold out. We need our winter stuff. So we have all this winter stuff, but you try to put it on her, and you're so afraid of like hurting her. She's so fragile that you just like, it's so difficult. And the outfits that we had, or the jackets that we had, were they fit her easily. I mean, but you just felt like they were like 10 sizes too small because you didn't want to, you know. But yeah, you're not as right away. You're not. You realize that you're not as prepared as you thought you were.
Well, you're like prepared with the hardware. You're
You
not
gotta,
prepared with
yeah,
the
you have all
software.
the tools.
You got to
Yeah,
build up the software. It's got to machine learning.
you do.
It's got to happen, and you have to actually live it. Only living it proves it's okay.
Yeah.
Because each time I could imagine this, I think the scariest thing is probably because at least in our case, it looks like we have to stay in the hospital for 2 nights.
Okay.
Regardless, that's just their deal. So I'm like, oh, I gotta sleep on this little side couch, and those 2 days are like having the baby with training wheels.
Yeah.
There's all the help in the world. It's like you're in a little suite. Everything's fine. The place makes you whatever dinner you want the night before you leave. But when you leave, it's like you're just thrown off a cliff with a parachute, but without knowing how to start a parachute. So like your instincts have to kick in, right? And then driving home must just be like
I probably drove slower than I did when I took my driving test, and it's probably unsafe to drive that slow. But yeah, but you'd mentioned that you've got to stay there. The first night I think she had to stay overnight. I don't remember quite well, but anyway, that first night you're so exhausted because now babies never come, or you can assume that they're going to come at an inconvenient time or whatever, early in the morning or whatever. So you're already going into this. You're on a long night, and all you want to do is you want to take care of the baby right away. So you've just spent upwards of 24 hours up or whatever, and now you want to take care of her.
After going through labor too.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like the guy's not, but that's got to be the weirdest thing to see somebody who a certain way go through something like that.
Oh, it's definitely mind or eye-opening, I should say. It's it was definitely.
I never heard her say that.
Yeah. No, you know what? What was so anyway,
Sorry.
when you're when you're that first night, I mean, my daughter, she just, you got to remember that it's like that to her. I mean, that's got to be obviously to your daughter, that's got to be the most exhausting experience. Trying to fight for your life is what you're doing when you're being born, because you have a limited amount of time and you have a limited. I mean, it's a struggle. So you're exhausted. You're this. I couldn't even imagine how it feels to be a newborn. But that first night, she cried and cried and cried, and all you wanted to do was be there and to help her and to stay up, or to give her the try to feed her more or make her happy. But they think they keep you there because the staff or the nurses are there because they know that you're not going to do as good a job as you can. I mean, you need to rest after going through labor, after all that. And so you want to spend as much time with the baby as you can, and you don't want to have the nurses bring her to the nursery. But really, it's probably in your best bet, and you're going to spend a lot of time with her or him as he or she grows up. But that first night, if you went through some major long time, long labor, or a tough labor, it is important to get a good night's sleep that first night so that you can take her home the next day and be ready for it.
Yeah, it's freaky too when you see a lot of this stuff, how really the animal nature of humans kick in, that they say like when the baby's born, a huge amount of its trust issues in life can be solidified in the first hour it's born, and who's holding it and how long it's being held, and like skin to skin contact, like all this stuff. It's amazing how that works. A whole life can kind of be.
There's a lot of good fiction out there on that, and babies imprinting and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I believe it. I do believe it. Because I see it. I mean, my daughter thinks the world of me. She thinks the world of her mom, and she definitely has a unique relationship with us that's unlike any other. So yeah,
Yeah, pregnancy's a scary thing too because I read these studies. Of course, everything you read, you're like, all right, do I bring this up or do I just kind of tuck it away in my own head? Because you got to be very careful what's brought up. I couldn't imagine holding life.
yeah,
I mean, that's just like they always say, if men had to do that, there would be no kids.
no,
I mean, that women just take the cake on that one.
yeah,
But the one I saw, which just scares the hell out of me, there's these studies about, I think it was in Europe somewhere, and during famine times, children who are in utero or pregnant or their fetus, when their mother lives in famine times, the baby when they're born is very simple to be overweight in their life, like so simple, and it's so hard to stay fit and skinnier because they were raised at their entire, like from the point of conception in their earliest incubation in the womb, they're raised to not expect food
yeah.
and to conserve every bit they can get. So when they come out, that's how they're hardwired. So if you give them any kind of plenty, it just it throws them out of kilter, and they get overweight like that.
I mean, how many books, how many subjects do people write on pregnancy, and there's arguments and different theories and everything on
how they're carrying, who's this and this. Yeah, it's like,
and I'm sure that a lot of it is what I would consider somewhat true. I mean, there's a but the problem is that yes, we know that how you behave or how you are during the pregnancy is going to change the baby's life, but I don't think anyone really knows. I mean, we all have our theories about, oh, try this, do that, but I mean, really, just to I don't think anyone really knows how it's going to affect. Like you said, the study's interesting and it makes sense, but then there's other people who want to do all kinds of wacky things when they're pregnant, and
Well, the other interesting thing, like they say, is babies have been born forever.
Yeah.
In way worse circumstances and in way less sterile circumstances.
Yes.
Than today.
Absolutely.
And there's a certain amount of nature that you just got to let go. And a lot of the things you hear, see if they're trying to sell something.
Sure.
And this is a great time to try to sell something. There's only so many times you have the engagement of being married. You have the wedding. Like when you look at where the natural selling points in people's lives are. And then there's babies. And man, is it a bonanza. You're going to bye-bye baby, and you do bye-bye a lot.
Yeah, the industry is huge. And what they actually do, which is unfortunate, it's a great selling tactic, but I mean, they make you feel bad if you don't buy their product.
Oh my God. Well, how about I was shocked when we went to this class about how many people use these exercise balls.
Okay.
Like when they're when they're for home to be able to land something, and then when they're in labor, and of course these videos are awful, and then the woman has to be like, guys, for the record, these are all natural labors, and you're like, oh, okay, whoa, because I thought that the Sigourney Weaver character from Ghostbusters just showed up in here. Whoa, okay, and like they have to say that, but why are you doing that? Because the epidural one would be really boring.
Yeah.
It wouldn't show it, but the exercise ball is like $40 more if you buy the baby version exercise ball, the pregnancy one, as opposed to just going over to Modell's
and buying the ball, the regular
or TJ Maxx, my favorite.
Yeah,
I love going there and like being like, whoa, they got like every iDevice thing here. TJ Maxx is amazing. I saw Mophie cases there for the 4S. Like, it's got to be older stuff, great iPad stuff. That's a great place. But what do you think of? It must be like heart-wrenching, and this is where I think plays back to the sports thing. I'm down on sports because they also no longer, I don't identify with the people in sports anymore. We're getting to the time of age where we're like, in terms of sports, we're at the end of the prime. 28, 32 is the prime, and now they're all young kids in there again, and they do stupid things, and maybe they're not raised very well. I mean, God, the NFL's in such crap right now. Even if you had the time to watch it, you might not want to watch it and kind of be a benefactor to this and pay for this, because it's just, we've built these warriors, and that's what they're told to do. and then when they do what we're telling them to do on the field outside of the field, it's like whoa, 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 we couldn't do that, and it's awful. But I wonder as a parent, the the Adrian Peterson stuff is disgusting.
Yeah. Wow. You're right. I look at my daughter and she's a bit younger than that situation. I think his son was four.
For
So she's a bit younger, you I mean, I'm not going to go into this whole sad story, but I mean, the truth is that as a kid, I mean, I got beat up, and not necessarily beat up. I don't know what the right word is.
spanked.
I was disciplined, and the best part is that I think is that every time I never walked away and didn't think I deserved it, you know. um, but there's clearly something different, and for me, I've never laid a hand on my daughter. I barely even grab her or try to, if she's running away, or, I talk to her a lot. We sit her down, and, you just got to talk to her. The open communication is important, and she's developing quite a unique or a very good trust with me, as far as, being able to talk about, hey, I did this, or, why did you do that? And, so the communication is important. I think there might be a lack of communication. I mean, I couldn't imagine the amount of again, I'm not trying to talk about his specific situation, or try to act like I'm in his home, but the amount of time that he must spend away from his kids. And I think I've heard, or at least heard somewhere on Sports Talk Radio or something, that he's got multiple kids from different mothers.
Yeah, and remember the one, people haven't brought this up a lot, but like the one who died was one of his kids, who was another guy did this to him.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And we kind of were so sad for him this whole time, and you should be, it's his kid, but then he's out there just sort of, wouldn't you think you wouldn't do the thing?
You'd think
that
it would scar you forever, and you wouldn't even think of it, and it would change your life forever. And yeah, I agree with that. It's scary to think that some you can go through that type of trauma and emotional damage, and then just reflect it on someone else that's your own child. But yeah, I mean, at 4 years old, I mean, there's got to be a certain amount of I don't remember a thing when I was 4 years old, and so what I'm trying to get at is there's got to be an amount of understanding that you hitting or beating your child is not helping the child at all learn what they're doing wrong, and if anything, it's going to scar them.
It's terroristic. It's like it's so it's awful, and it's sadistic almost, in the way that nobody knows to hit a kid with branches unless they weren't hit with branches.
Sure.
And his dad, I remember when he was at Oklahoma, there was something where his dad was in prison, I thought, even from back in the day, because I remember when he was great at Oklahoma, but he was hit with a branch. And why is it called a switch? Like, that kept, it's such a weird term to me. It's like a switch. He was hit with, and I was sitting there reading it going, wait, like a light switch?
I kept thinking that myself. I thought of a piece of wire with a switch attached to it or something. I'm like, what do you mean a switch? It just,
But that's a vulnerability inside you.
Yeah.
That makes you, and the sad thing is, he's Adrian Peterson. He comes across suave and slick, and everyone likes him. He's a likable guy. But that can be the worst, because those kids then don't have any voice.
Yeah.
They're just one of the kids, and the mother has no voice because the mother doesn't want to stop the money coming through, I'm sure. And so these kids are in a position where they're not sexually molested or anything like that, but it's sort of the same thing in that he can get away with this basically until he's drawing blood with like.
Yeah, that's incredible. I just I couldn't imagine causing and to see pain on your kids' face is the worst. When they fall, when something happens, and that when they start running and trying to get brave and jumping and all this kind of stuff. I mean, there's a good amount of pain that's involved with growing up. You learn from your mistakes, and you fall and you get up. And my heart, it gets so heavy when my daughter gets hurt, that to me, to cause that kind of hurt and intentionally, I don't understand it. And I think what it may have a lot to do with with not necessarily any kind of socioeconomic culture or any kind of thing like that, but how much of it is this idea that they're the generation before you, you know, uh, like my parents would hit me and discipline me and that kind of thing. And I grew up always saying that I would never do that because to me it didn't you know it didn't really help. I felt like when I was younger there were a lot better ways to get me to understand and to learn. So how much of it is just trying um, to do something in protest of the way your parents raised you in a sense, and to say, hi, like I'm going to raise my daughter and I'm not going to hit her and she's going to turn out to be a great kid. And so for me, I just want to I want to prove that I can love and respect her forever, and that she can be a good, respectful kid forever. You know?
I hate when kid. There's nothing worse than stories about kids because it's just like they're vulnerable in every single way.
Yeah, everywhere.
Every single way.
Yeah.
They're reliant on adults, and those same adults doing something like that. You are actually not disciplining the kid. You're setting that kid up potentially for trouble in their adult life because that's the trust they have for people. They might do bad things. If it's a girl, they might really do bad things to look for the father figure they didn't have, and they tend to look for it in people who are unsavory. But yeah, I mean, like you, I was hit, but I totally deserved it. I would do things to try to egg on my brother to get him hit, to get him in trouble. But there was a way that, like, I love how we're DIFUS don't come for our dads, but
no.
there's like a way that like I remember, like my dad, if it ever came to it, it did not come to it a lot, but it's like an open hand to the butt.
Yeah.
Like when you start closing a fist and you're dealing with their head or you're bringing things into it. I mean, my dad used to say that his dad had a belt, and that's just like when you're bringing in tools of torture.
Yeah.
That's like really sadistic, and I know it might have been done to you, but we have nature and nurture. By nature, we are a certain way, and then the way we grow up, what we're nurtured in helps that too. But sometimes you got to overcome it. You can't just give yourself to nurture if it wasn't the greatest situation. And it's amazing how that happens. And I'm happy that this stuff has come out and they were able to get a voice. People aren't able to get away with these things as much anymore because we have social media. We have easy ways for people to say what happened. Police are less likely to hide something because of who someone is. Plus, you look at, like, this is happening in a jurisdiction that has nothing to do with Minnesota. Like, it was in Texas. So these guys are all over the place too. And that's a good thing. The transparency to these acts, and that he has a real penalty for
Absolutely.
this is pretty it's pretty good because it's both, it's children and it's women, and we've seen some pretty bad actors and activity in this, and it makes you doubt turning it on Sunday to watch it.
Yeah, you're right about that. It makes you what it really does, especially if you have kids, it kind of football just is a great game, right? It's a great game. It's got to be the most the best game that's designed for TV for watching. I mean, like we said, it's a once a week, it's an escape. But in reality, I mean, the way that the game is played, I mean, I just don't know where the NFL is going, and because there's so many things that or can be negative about it. I mean, when I understand that there's freak accidents in some sports where people lose their lives or whatever, but I mean, when you talk about, and I don't pretend to know these statistics, I mean, I guess it just feels like there's an abundance of paralysis or
head injuries are
just
rife.
head
I mean,
injury.
it's all over the place.
It's incredible. I don't know how the sport can go on for as long as it has been this way, because it's scary what's out there, and the violent nature of it. I mean, for me, what's exciting about it is not necessarily what makes it the violence of it. I like the athleticism.
Yeah.
And the game itself. I mean, I would watch. I know it sounds corny, but I would watch flag football, and it would be just as fun to see Peyton Manning running his same offense in a flag football game, and or what have
Or
you.
what if they didn't wear helmets?
Yeah,
What
it
if they went back to those, like, they don't have to go to those leather pads, but if these guys weren't wearing helmets and they had some kind of light, like, punter pads or something,
yeah,
one, we'd see their faces more, which
yeah,
is better for them. And two, you're not going to spear someone head to head if you don't have a helmet on,
that's right.
because then you got to deal with the fact that heads will not get hit as much.
Yeah,
There's some people, even in soccer. You look at our old classmate Aleko Eskandarian, who could have been like one of the best American soccer players, and he was cut short from a concussion.
yeah,
It can happen anywhere, and once you get it, you're more apt to get it again because you've kind of jiggled things around. And it is scary because we thought the whole time that our head was kind of like safe and our brain was safe in there. That thing gets jiggled around a couple of times. You get a couple of concussions. Your, incidence of getting a really bad, disorder or Parkinson's or things like that is terrible. And some of these guys, they make all this money and then they get it and they're kind of done living a good life.
yeah.
In their late 40s, even if they're not totally laid low by it, they'll get terrible memory lapse. They'll get like these terrible headaches that don't go away. And what good is that with the money you got? And then you're a liability to the NFL now too.
We talked about the Adrian Peterson thing a little bit because, and I thought about this when we talked about it, where, these contracts and this money that they make is incredible, and for someone like me, to think of having that kind of money, I don't know why I'd want to risk my life or how about this, with injury. But the other side of it is, if you gave me one of their contracts, I would walk away from the game immediately just so I can spend more time with my daughter. And this is where I look at someone like Adrian Peterson, who, whether it's ego, whether it's, I mean, like you said, he's a running back. I mean, how many hits has he taken that could be potentially damaging for the rest of his life? And each one of them has got to be exponentially worse, if he has some kind of injury. And now I take one of those contracts, I put all the money in my pocket, and I just retire and spend the rest of my life either, with my daughter or, doing things that. But again, I'm not a football player, so I don't understand.
Well, and it's all you know. And when you're younger, your life seems completely like geared towards that, and you don't have the kind of perspective we gain in life. Your 32-year-old self thinks that.
Yeah.
But it's when we were 20, 21, it's amazing how different your thought process goes just in those 10 years. That's a big formative period where you think a lot about things. And the crazy thing is the amount of like impregnating all these women. It's like, what? I hate to say it, but the child ends up being a total liability to you. And I know the women might be doing some things to play around so that they know that they have basically a money pit
Sure.
being born, but like not caring almost that this is happening and that you're kind of like recklessly just creating life across the land and just like, sure, I'll pay for it. But that's a kid who's right off the bat, if he's not being hit by you, he's not even being paid attention to you by you. So that's all he gets, and that's not healthy. Then they end up being these kids, the ne'er-do-wells, and then everyone says, "Oh, well, he's Adrian Peterson's. He shouldn't be like this." But the actual raising is more important than the money.
Absolutely. Yeah. You hit it right on the head where, you can't. What I'm trying to get at is that you can't imagine, or I can't imagine, a world where I, don't get to see my daughter as much as I do, and like for him, he's got to spend so much time away from his family and his kids and that kind of thing. But then when you also you basically are going to make that much worse when he has children in different families. So now you've taken what is your time and you've separated it from your children immediately from doing the work that you do, and the amount of, I mean, the work just isn't on Sunday. I mean, it's year round. The conditioning that these athletes go through is incredible, and but right away you've now chosen a life where you don't get to see your kids as much, and then on top of that, you've got kids in two or three other
Yeah, and you
families.
selfishly have no problem creating them all. You
Yeah,
have no problem being with their moms.
yeah,
And
exactly.
then it's like you just don't care. Oh, I got the money. By the way, money goes away real quick
Yeah,
when you're making that. Can you imagine how much is going out to them? They don't even pay attention to it. And the other sad thing is these teams. These are people who didn't make their money in the NFL. They made their money in the real world and then bought teams, and they're completely tone deaf from the NFL to the teams and these coaches and all these people when they're trying to they have these press conferences. It's nothing sadder than a football guy having a press conference about a guy hitting his fiance
yeah,
or a guy hitting kids, and and we're like, oh, we're going right to the press conference. Here comes Coach Ron Rivera to talk about Hardy. It's like, well, I don't. We're going to see if Ron Rivera says something stupid because he's a football guy.
yeah,
He's not got the perspective on what this issue is with a guy with an African American guy and how he raises his kids.
yeah.
And and then we're like waiting to see what he says, and that's actually stopped my ability in sports too. I used to watch Sports Center all the time. I watch it every night. I watch it in the morning. Remember, you'd watch it over and over again.
Oh yeah,
And when kind of the bubble bursts on you taking these people seriously outside of the lines, you can't watch Sports Center anymore. I don't care about the post game press conference unless it's hilarious and the guy does something dumb and they're gonna like turn it into a YouTube clip. But I don't care what's said. I don't care about. There's way more things to read that are better that are people outside sports doing things outside that. Like we look up to them, but they're not really someone who you should look up to necessarily. They do great things and you can get into the game in the time. When the New York Giants won the 2 Super Bowls, I liked what that Eli Manning like is not seen as this great regular season quarterback and he goes on a magic ride and the magic of sports is what it's about. Those magic moments. And when you look at the Yankees in the late 90s when you were a fan there and Jeter was at the head of that and you look at a guy who had 4 rings by the time he's 26, it looks like the world was great. Magic is what brings you to sports and keeps you there. If there is not magic, it's not worth watching.
that's right.
And these guys, in what they're doing, they are systematically stripping the magic from even the magic moments happening. They're stripping it out. They're wiping it away with this corrosive crap and how they're treating society. And at some point you go, that's my sister. That's my, daughter. That's my kid. Like it's
Yeah, definitely the saga or the drama of sports is no longer within the game anymore. I feel like the drama is outside the game, and with press conferences and social media. I mean,
free agency,
yeah,
contracts, who's getting this. It's more interesting than the game now. And
yeah,
it's and people like to see how teams are put together, and it's the fantasy sports aspect of it where I'm not rooting for a team. I'm actually rooting for a mix of players that I just created for my little team here. But it's sad because you don't want to devote yourself to something that is completely counter to your beliefs. And it's not like counter to your beliefs like 55-45. They're moving in a way where it really feels like everything that's been built up, the PR machine, especially with the NFL because of how much it makes and how important it is to society, it's built up where everybody feels bigger than society. And that doesn't happen. You will be laid low by that. And the NFL, while they're the biggest right now, all their problems, they might not be able to stay the biggest.
yeah. I think those problems are gonna they kind of exist blanket across professional sports, which it may or may not be true, but I see I think just the amount of the violence of the game, I think, is what might be driving some of these, why they're so. I
You
can't
know what it
even.
is? Like what you're trying to say is with the violence of the game before was the payoff.
Yeah,
But now we see the violence of the game is like a credit card. You put it down, but you're going to have to pay for it next month. So we don't see the big hits anymore as, whoa, that was so cool. Like that was awesome. He just hit him with a chair. And we can't like it because we know what comes out on the other end of that hit.
Yeah.
He got his bell rung. He did this. No, no, no. We don't want bells being rung. And when you remove that, a lot of people walk away, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it makes it hard to watch, or you feel guilty about watching it.
Yeah.
You do.
And then you see a guy get like tear his ACL, and then he's kind of wheeled off the field like he's some horse who broke its leg.
Yeah.
And and they're just so big too, these guys, and with their pads, they're like 400 pounds. Everything about it is almost everything that's wrong with America in some ways. It both shows the greatness and the excesses of America.
Yeah, it's interesting you say it like that, and then and then you just gotta wonder sometimes what some of these people are thinking, and I guess everyone's talking about the Ray Rice thing. I mean, I don't know. There's no excuse or no reason to do what he did, but when you consider how dumb that actually is. I mean, what are you doing? I don't know if alcohol was involved or what,
Probably.
but I mean, you're in a casino and you're in an elevator, and every square inch of it. I mean, money gets transported through the elevators. It's like there's cameras covering
Yeah.
every square inch of that place, and now you're.
And he was dragging around. Everyone knew that video existed. That was
Yeah.
that was almost worse than the hit.
Yeah.
When you see a lifeless body being dragged
and
out.
the elevator door is trying to close, and he's trying to hold it open. And some guy comes. The whole thing is just such an incredible thing to watch. And what actually I think makes it a bit scary is that, we all know that these things happen. And when you heard the story, when you read about the story, it isn't clearly as graphic when it's black and white. And then all of a sudden, when you see it moving in pictures, and you're like, oh my God, that actually happened, and it's almost like a drama on TV where the whole comedy behind Breaking Bad is the amount of things that can go wrong,
Yeah.
and how they dealt with it, and there's comedy behind it, and then you see someone, unfortunately, it was real life. But you see Ray Rice's elevator door is trying to close, and his fiance is knocked out, and there's some amount of dark comedy to it that's real life, and you watch it, and you're just like, oh my God, this is actually happening, or this happened.
Well, yeah, and it looks like the Ravens now came out on ESPN Outside the Lines. They saw the video right after it happened.
Yeah, I read that.
And I saw all kinds of things where it was like they were going to bribe him to play through it, which I don't know if that's true, but that they were trying to work with the casino and the NFL to get this right. Like, this is sports, and they're working trying to change the course of a crime investigation. This is way too deep, everyone. I mean, this is like, and then you look at this Jameis Winston, who's the next guy, the next one we all want to put our marketing machine behind. And he's a kid, but he's won the Heisman. I read a terrible New York Times long-form article about this rape investigation, which sure looked like it happened, and that the Tallahassee police were kind of like, or maybe it was the college police, that they were sort of like turning a blind eye, trying to say that the woman wasn't right, or it's always the woman's fault in that case. And then he goes and he's stealing crab legs from a Publix, walking out with like $40 worth of crab legs, and now he like jumps up in the place where they eat at the college, and he's yelling something about hose or something. And now he's suspended, and it looks like it could go on longer. And that the college was just like, yeah, it's okay. And then there's an uproar, and they go, we're going to suspend him for a half. And then they're like, okay, we'll suspend him for the game. And now it's like indefinite. And these colleges are like, well, we need him on the field. We can't do this. And he knows that. And he knows he's not getting paid. And he knows he's probably getting paid actually under the table, and that he could blow the whistle on everybody doing that if he wanted to, and his Heisman would go away. Where's Reggie Bush's Heisman?
Yeah.
It's all such a charade. And like college sports is even worse for me than NFL sports, because the amount of things that you have to that you have to kind of think aren't happening in your head in order to watch it is silly. Like, this is big time sports.
I mean, yeah, you watch Blue Chips. It's one of my favorite movies. I mean, just
there was a movie about it. Like, everybody knew.
And that was what 15 years ago. I mean,
Longer, probably longer than that. Nick Nolte,
yeah.
Shaq, Penny Hardaway.
And to me, you're right. I mean, all those same things that were happening are still happening. And but the difference is between 15 years ago and today is that the business of college sports is that much bigger.
The
And
highest paid coach, the highest paid public employee in most states is either the head basketball coach or the head football coach of the major university in the state.
yeah,
Like $5-6 million, and none of that is trickling to the players.
yeah,
And everybody's watching their games on major television, March Madness, national championship games, and everybody's using them in video games, although not anymore, because of course someone goes to sue the NCAA because they're like, wait a second, I know it doesn't have his last name on it, but that's me,
yeah.
that's Ed O'Bannon, and
That's,
they're like, okay, we're not going to use the likeness of players anymore.
yeah,
Instead of saying, okay, we'll give you money.
yeah, exactly.
It's insane, and they're all nonprofits, which is a joke.
Yeah.
The whole thing is crazy, and I think we'll drive ourselves nuts with it. So why are you working out?
Why am I working out?
And what's
Oh,
going on with that?
We brought it back full circle.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I mean, look, it's funny. I don't mean to blame marriage or blame kids, but I mean, you start to I don't know, you don't have enough time to yourself, and you start to just look at yourself and you say, oh my God, like what am I doing to myself? You're eating all this, on the go, and you're this, you're that. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make a positive change, And
You a big fast food guy still?
No, not
Were
anymore. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's when you're on the road, because I find myself on the road a lot for work, it becomes difficult.
What was your go-to?
Oh, that's a good one. I love my go-to on the road was probably any kind of I love like a local like a grill like for hot dogs and like I don't know.
Oh, so it wasn't like a mass-produced
no,
like McDonald's or
well,
anything.
hell, I mean it's still disgusting, and I find myself if I go and eat some of that crap now, I feel terrible because it's like I guess your body gets so used to it for a while, and then when you stop and you actually eat better. And another one of my go-tos was a lot of sugary drinks, sodas and iced teas.
Uh-oh, what happened to the Mexican Cokes?
Coke. We talked about
They're
it last
gone?
time. They're gone. They're off the. They're gone because
Do
everything.
they have diet Mexican Coke?
No, I just would drink water now. And
That's a huge difference.
instantly, you just feel so much better. I don't know, but yeah. So we talk as much as I'd love to go out and have Mexican Cokes right now, and or whatever it may be. I used to love iced teas, bottled iced tea. No more because I'm so much happier with the way I am now, and so it's really not worth it. And you just feel like crap after you.
Liquid calories are the killers. They are just the addition. If you add up the calories from those things,
yeah.
If you just eat food, even if you ate fast food, if you just eat food, you'll probably do okay. Because food is easy to not eat above your fill on a regular basis.
Yeah.
When I was lifting in my late teens, I got really into lifting, and I actually did a mass phase. Remember where you'd like eat everything and so I was drinking like those mass shakes that you buy, and you would put the huge scoop of like 1,000-calorie stuff in, add peanut butter, ice cream, and I learned that even eating all that, as long as I was working out, and that's because you're a teenager, you get jacked in the right places, but it actually became hard to keep up that calorie thing when you were trying to eat 4,000 calories a day. Your body actually starts to reject it.
Yeah.
But if you just have a ton of liquid calories, it's harder for your body to reject it because it just gets down. Food takes a while to digest, and that's like one of the big secrets. If you stop having liquid calories, you pretty much start to melt off the pounds.
Well, it worked for me. That's all I know. I didn't do any research on it. I'm not on a specific diet. I just stopped.
What was the day? What was the turning point day? Did you saw yourself in a weird angle?
No,
or
when you step on
saw a picture of yourself.
when you step on the scale and it says 270, you're like, oh my God, like what am I doing here? I mean, I know I'm 6'3", but 270 is way too much, way too much.
Wow.
So I weigh 232 now, so I'm very happy with that, and I'm just happy about it. That's all. I mean, I feel a lot better.
And so there was just that day, like, was it you finally hit 270, or had you been at 270 for a
No,
while
no,
and it
you
just
you finally you didn't weigh yourself for a while, and you're like, let me jump on the scale. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, all right, that's a round number, you know.
it's a bad feeling because
Yeah,
you know you got some time to go before you're going to get somewhere where you are, and you're like, I don't like if I'm seen like this. Like I don't like that I didn't know this,
yeah,
and no
exactly.
one said anything.
Exactly. And then when people see me now, they haven't seen me in a while. They're like, "Holy shit, you lost a lot of weight." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I did." But for no one ever told me, or no one ever said to me, "Oh, you're looking huge," you know, because I think it was a combination of me wearing it well, and then I've always been kind of a tall, skinny kid, you know, so I guess it just sits on you better. But no, I wasn't happy with it at all, and yeah, I mean, it's good. That's why I'm working out. That's why I feel better every day.
Were you in a gym?
No, I work out. I box, and then
Oh,
I work over with Joe Gadango.
yeah, Joey
Joe
Goods. He'd be good
Joey
for a
Goods.
podcast, wouldn't he?
Joe's great. Joe's great. I see him all the time now. I mean, we work out a whole bunch all the time. So I'm working out over at with his brother as a
Can he
personal
bench like
trainer.
350?
Joe's out of his mind. I mean, we when we do weights, I mean, it's in between the boxing and the weights. When we do weights, I mean, he's just doing. I don't even know how to explain it. What I'm working out on, he's got these. He's putting up like he's pressing 65 pounds, in each arm and on an incline. And I don't know if that's a lot. Again, I just follow what people tell me to do. But I look at myself and I'm putting up like 35s and I'm struggling. Then it's like he's a strong dude. And then I don't know if you've ever met his brother. His brother is a personal trainer, and he works with a lot of pro athletes over in DeFranco's
Oh,
in Hawthorne. So yeah, we do a lot of work there. And
night times or
no,
daytimes?
no, early,
Morning?
early,
Yeah, I like
very
working out in
early.
the morning better
Yeah,
because you can actually, the day can get you. Sort of
yeah,
like we were talking about with doing free time things.
yeah.
That by the end of the day, you're worn down, and it's twice as hard to do the same output you could do if you just get up early and do it fresh.
I'm in such a routine now where I need it. I need to go. I need to feel like I did something. I don't know how I did it for so long, not doing anything, because it was no exercise whatsoever, and that has a lot to do with the pressures of or the amount of time that you have with the family. You don't get to play as many sports as you used to. I mean, for the longest time, for my whole life, I was involved in some kind of organized sports. And I mean, you start playing softball, and you go from 5 leagues to 1 league, and when you have a baby, and all of a sudden you're just not, you're not getting the same amount of exercise, and
Yeah, weight gain is insidious. It just sort of it happens without any real signs except the weight, like except the scale. And there's sort of times where maybe you fit a little weird into something
yeah,
that wasn't a problem before.
oh yeah,
What's crazy is last year, I've played basketball in town 2 years now. Pick up basketball on Monday nights at the Sparta High School gym. The first year I did it, I've been in shape. I work out about 4 times a week. You run 3 to 4 miles, and then I got like a lifting routine where I basically get through my whole body across the 4 days. But I started doing basketball on Monday nights, and first of all, it took me like 2 days to recuperate because running, sprinting, and playing like the amount of games you do, we keep winning, and you play 5, 6 games. And I wear my little fitness tracker so I can see that I get like you do like 6 miles sometimes.
sure,
6 miles of running sprints.
yeah,
When you do that, now granted, you're shot for a couple days and it'll affect your work because you're just like you totally just like wrecked your body. But things melted off to a ridiculous degree. Like I'm usually around 200, which is not my favorite. But when I was doing that, I was like sneaking down to 189, 190 by the end of it without doing anything different.
sure,
And it's crazy how just that kind of change up, and that's really like a lot in life too, but working out especially, you got to throw change ups because your body wants to assimilate and acclimate to exactly what you're doing. So if you start just lifting and doing the same run time and again, at first it really works, but then your body goes, okay, I want to get used to this level, so I'm not going to expend this much or use this much calories. Like you got to then go the next workout and do like a sprint workout, or you got
Sure.
to go back and you got to do heavy weights and then go back the next time and do 20, 25 reps. Like you have to throw it off balance all the time.
Yeah, the programs that we're in are all about that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they've got their own, theories, and I mean, they he writes books about how to, how to keep, that kind of thing. Just and and I walk in and I listen, and that's all I do, and I feel great after I do it. I've gotten a lot stronger. I've lost weight, and so, but for me, I mean, the study of it is beyond me. But yeah, that you're right. It is different every day, and we don't do anything repetitive. It's just different groups, different everything. It's fantastic.
Well, the cool thing with working out is like most things I get into, I get crazy into it, like OCD into it, where I read everything there is on it and do it. And in my late teens, when I got into lifting, I actually got a personal trainer certification from ACE, the American Council on Exercise.
There you go.
So I studied myself and took it, but I got real into it. And you remember like when you're that age, you don't really know about lifting, so you think the thing to do is to lift for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse you could possibly do for yourself, because when you lift longer, you're actually lifting is like digging a hole. And recuperation and nutrition and rest fill that hole back up. And ultimately you want to dig the hole and then come back and be a little bit higher. So
Yep.
you want to have built a little more dirt up in your
Yep.
recuperation. If you lift crazy like that, you can run pretty crazy, but the body can't handle that amount of lifting really. It's just it's too much. You dig the hole so deep that you might rest and recuperate, but maybe only get back halfway to the hole filled up. And then you go, well, I got to keep doing it. I got to get jacked. And so you do it again, and then you go back down here, and then you rest and recuperate, and now you're not even back to the last, and you just dig a hole and dig a hole. And that's one of the biggest mistakes people make when they go to the gym for the first time. All those people with the New Year's resolutions who are in and load up the gyms we go to in the
Yeah.
first couple of weeks of January, and you go, this isn't going to last, but this stinks today.
Oh no, that's exactly what happened. I mean, we when we started, I joined a group that had been working out for months, right? And the idea is that everyone else is doing this, doing that, and I want to keep going. I want to keep up with the pace, and everyone's like, or Mike is like, no, you're done. I know you want to do more. I know you probably can do more, but you're done.
That's the biggest key.
Yeah, because you like you said, you've got to get. I don't know the science behind it, but I know that it's worked for me.
Your eagerness will wreck you.
Yes, it will.
Because then you believe that that's what working out does.
Yeah.
That level of working, or that working out, that's the level you need to do, but that you can handle that level.
Yeah.
One of the most groundbreaking books I read in lifting was by this guy called Mike Menser, and he's like one of these like 80s bodybuilders around the time of Arnold. Now Arnold was a volume lifter.
Sure.
He would lift 2 hours, 2 times a day. There was crazy stories I read in Arnold's book where not only would they do that, but then him and his friend would go out with 2 women out to the forest with huge pitchers of wine and barbells. I mean, and
Just bars.
bars and 45-pound weight plates. And he said that, I could be quoting it slightly wrong, but don't be surprised because of what we know with Arnold. It was something like they would just go out in the woods and they would just do constant squats, drink wine, and have sex. And it was like this crazy, it was pretty amazing. So he was a volume lifter. This guy, Meg Menser, really hit me though, because when I got really into lifting and I was doing it too much, sometimes I feel like I had mono. And it was because I was overtrained. If you can easily overtrain yourself with weights. And so this guy kind of had this thing called the high intensity training method. It's basically where you do one real set per exercise. One real set to failure. You never go to failure except on the one. And there's a lot of studies about that where the one set to failure it exhausts your muscles to the level they need to get where you're going. Keeping on hitting them doesn't do anything except overtrain you and put you worse off so you can't go back the next day. That's why a lot of people take steroids and growth hormone. It's not so much because it helps you lift more, it's because it helps your body heal quicker so you can go back and lift again.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
You're buying time with that, is what you're buying.
Exactly right. You're buying the ability to, if you have 20 weeks to work out in an off season. We're saying nobody in sports does it, but some did at one time. The funny thing is with the Google Hangout is it doesn't want product placement. So like this is blurred, the Heil is blurred on the microphone, and this is
Does it
blurred.
really?
It's pretty
What
funny.
kind of brand is that on your shirt? Just
Yeah, it's just a shark. It's like for some fishing outing, but they think it's some kind of thing. But if you look at like a 20 week, that might be even too long. But if you look at like 20 weeks of time before your season starts in the off season, in those 20 weeks, think of how many workouts you can get over the long haul if you can get back in the gym and do that body part a couple of days sooner than you would with normal healing. So that's really why they do it, and that's why back in the steroid days, the crazy steroid days, players would come back 40 pounds of muscle added on, like Brett Boone. Was like a monster, and he hit 40 home runs and 120 RBIs
I
that
remember
year.
it, yeah.
That was because it was the healing. It's not so much the lifting. Sure, it boosts your testosterone to lift, but lifting weights is not the key in lifting. And that's a sad thing for people because they identify themselves by how much they can lift. But my thing I got to after that, because I was one of those people, was that you make the weight work for you. You don't work for the weight.
Interesting.
And that's the key. So is this CrossFit or is it?
No, no.
Yeah, that's like a whole cult thing.
I don't
You
know.
got people doing like hang cleans like with groups. It's like whoa, whoa.
No, like I said, Joe's brother, he's great. I love the kid. He's awesome.
Is he younger?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's younger than Joe. And I mean, it's what's great about working out over at the gym is like I said, he trains professional athletes, and like you see, he's got all the jerseys hanging up, and you're like, okay, drafted that guy on my fantasy team, and I'm working out in the
that's
gym where
funny.
he, where he acquired his skills or whatever, and but no, it's not. It's just these programs that they do for strength, and it's great,
Yeah, no, it is good. Routine exercise. There's nothing better to get you feeling right and to get you excited about doing things too. And when you get into the day-to-day routine of it the right way, there's nothing better. When you miss it for a couple days, you sink back.
You asked a great question before. Something popped into my head for a second when you asked me when did I notice, that I was like, getting too big. Throughout high school, I mean, when I was playing basketball in high school, I was able to easily, dunk a basketball. And then all of a sudden
Uh,
the other day, or not even the other day, but a couple months ago, just
42 pounds ago.
Oh, you know what I mean? Just adding that weight and then the deterioration of what your physical activity used to be. I mean, I tried to get up and I'm like, oh man, this thing, it felt like the room was at 11 feet. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is like, no good. So more than anything, I can't wait until I can get into a shape where I can play basketball. I mean, that's what I want to do. That's what I like doing. It's what I enjoy more than anything. And so I'm looking forward to that.
40 pounds is like
Yeah, that's a lot.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Have you like gotten new clothes and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had
Wow.
to it's a good thing, I guess. I had to buy new a lot of new clothes, yeah. And then I had to buy new clothes again because I'm like, "Oh, let me I wear 42s. Okay. Let me go buy some 40s." And then all of a sudden I need 38. So, yeah, it works out well.
Are you where you want to be?
No,
You got more? Not weight, right? You have
not
muscle
necessarily
maybe.
weight, yeah. I don't it never really was about the weight. It's just about feeling good, being
Yeah.
healthy. So that, and it's funny. I think the parenting thing or becoming a parent also helped that because right away I turned 30 years old, and I have a daughter, and you start going to the doctor. I never went to the doctor. I got health insurance. Why don't I use it?
Yeah, that's always the biggest shock when you didn't know what health insurance did.
Yeah,
And then you go, wait a second, I can go to any of these people
yeah,
and pay like $10?
and that's it.
Or like I go to the chiropractor. You
Yeah.
can go to, there's so much. I
So
was always afraid of the doctor.
so yeah, and the doctor was always something that oh, you hurt your knee or you
You
got
mean
to go to
physical?
the emergency room. Yeah, and now I'm like, oh well, go to the doctor, and make sure that you're healthy for your daughter, and I just like you go to the doctor and all of a sudden your cholesterol is a little high and you're like, whoa, all right, well, it's not high like you need to be on medication, but doctor's like, hey, what's going on here? You're a little bit high. Oh well, have you been exercising? Well, not at all. well, maybe you should start. You
Yeah,
know.
and it's like, oh my God, am I at that point in life where I'm having that conversation?
Yeah, and it opens your eyes to something that simple where I enjoy it. So why wouldn't I want to do it more? You know, to get healthier.
You always
And
feel like you're 16.
yeah,
And when you're 16-year-old self, you can do anything.
until
It's
you're not.
scary when because your mind doesn't change a lot. Yeah, sure, you get older, you mature in certain ways, but you never leave being that teenager.
Yeah,
And we were talking about fast food before. I've even gotten to the point, I can't tell you the last time, first of all, I had any McDonald's, Wendy's, or Burger King, another Taco Bell, because there's a lot of there's a lot of healthy fast food now too.
yeah,
Like Muscle Maker Grill is a good one. Chipotle is one of the best ones. You can get good food in a fast manner.
yeah,
Like I even saw that Pizza Hut is trying to market thin slices now. I'm sorry, Pizza Hut's done.
yeah. No, they're
If
out.
you're trying to if you're trying to not market to a core of people who want to buy your pizza,
yeah,
what are you gonna, a thin slice? Who's going to Pizza Hut to get a thin slice? Like I remember Tuesdays. Remember 2 for Tuesdays with Domino's, and you could get like 2 pizzas for the price of one, and like roll it out over the week.
yeah. I mean, there's no better pizza in the world than that
Deep dish.
that deep dish. It feels like it's awful for you. You know?
Terrible.
And then it's funny. You have you go another way where they try to some of the fast food places try to exploit the other end of the spectrum. And
Yeah, and
you
who's
know,
going to McDonald's for like a parfait?
yeah, exactly.
Although I'll tell you, McDonald's coffee, they really have done a good job with that. It's
Oh.
very good.
You know, yeah, I don't drink coffee. I don't know.
You should.
But-
It'll help you work out better.
No, that's something that's interesting too because a lot of people don't understand. I go to work and I don't drink any coffee.
It's amazing.
And, yeah, I've never drinking coffee in my life. And people just they come in and everything stops. So you hit the Keurig and
We were
you know,
drinking those Cokes though.
the Cokes.
That was
were,
quite a bit of caffeine.
There was a lot of Cokes too. They were good. They were really good.
You could still have one,
Maybe one day.
although you might we find you on a bender because like the amount of sugar might actually upset you.
No, so if anything, I'm gonna drink I love sugar-free Red Bull. That's my drink. You know.
Oh, you know what the crazy thing? The other night we went to Macaroni Grill. I never thought of Macaroni Grill and Chili's as fast food, even though
Yeah.
they sort of are. And we eat very well, like to the point where we'll eat like quinoa and kale and things like that sometimes
What
with
is
chicken.
what is quinoa by the way?
Quinoa is an ancient grain. It's one of the oldest grains, and it's a complete protein
Okay.
as a grain. It's not bad. It's very it's like nutty rice in a way. So you mix it with normal foods you'd eat, and it has protein. It has like 7 grams of protein in a cup or something.
Yeah.
So it really adds to it, maybe a half a cup. So we eat really well, just by default, you know. And we make everything on the weekend, and we'll eat that through the week. Like everything's pretty healthy. And we went to Macaroni Grill the other night. That destroyed me like fast food. I woke up in the middle of the night, like just with a gross feeling in me. Like I had some kind of creamy. It wasn't ultra creamy though. It was like a cream sauce. Felt awful. Like I
Yeah.
don't even know if I could do that anymore. That's like fast food to me now.
Just
because,
heavy and dense.
yeah, totally heavy. And you could eat at there's so many places that you could eat at that are really good. Like gastro pubs are big now. I like people making, like we got a great place in town, the Mohawk House, and they'll have like gastro pub type foods. You don't need to get a burger, but their burgers are going to be cleaner at least.
Yeah.
They'll have turkey burgers. They'll have these like really good chicken tacos, but it's all wholesome made. A lot of it's locally sourced food. Your body gets used to that, and it's no longer like a payoff or a cheat meal to have the other thing. You literally actually feel so bad after eating it that the benefit of having it and the reward of having it is not a reward at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like you just don't feel good.
No, I agree with you. I feel that way a lot if I get off the rail a little bit.
I mean, hell, thin slice like Pizza Hut, and they're all trying to do it because the writing is on the wall. And what do you do if you're those companies? You've made a killing on people eating this mass-produced food across the country, and like that, like a virus, an antivirus, people don't want it anymore. People don't want this food. It's so unwholesome. We've gotten to a point now where we want to eat things that are cleaner.
Hey, you mentioned Chipotle before. They're one of my favorite by far. I mean, like you said, you'll go there. It's fast. You're on the go, and everything here there, at least the way they advertise it is that it's all fresh and
Well,
local,
you
and
can feel it when you eat it.
you do.
It doesn't destroy you.
And I'll go in there, and I know that some people like to go in there and they just like they get all the sour cream and cheese and all that. I'll go there and just get the chicken and all the veggies, all the different sauces, and then that's my bowl, and that's it. And I just go through it. I feel full after, and that's it.
Yeah, no, it's really good. We have a place in town called Cloveberry, and it was people who used to own a coffee place by NYU in New York, and they lived up here the whole time, and they would commute. I think they're Indian, really nice folks, and they actually have like doctorates in hospitality management. Like they're legit. They started this place, greatest lattes ever, and their menu, they had these things like the Powerhouse wrap, which you would never think you would like. It's got quinoa, um, and like black beans and a bunch of other things that kind of mix well, hummus, and you eat it. It's so good. And I love eating food, and you don't feel any after effect. Nothing's coming up. Nothing's like feeling gross in you.
Yeah.
But every one of their sandwiches are like crafted, like an art. They got sandwiches that'll have like a little guacamole with this kind of relish and awesome stuff. Like you can get good stuff, and I think we like getting good stuff now. It's not cool to be able to go to fast food. It's for young. Your body can handle it when it's. I mean, I used to house a deep dish by myself when I was early 20s even. I would have it on Tuesday, and I used to just eat 2 meals so I could like
Absolutely.
so I could.
And then you always when you're that age you like to brag about how many how many pies you can eat, or I can eat a whole Kinchleys, and
Kitchens is easy too. Can you imagine eating a whole pie right now though, like
yeah.
a Domino's
No,
deep
I
dish?
easily could have back in the day.
But the funny
no.
thing is, your body could probably handle it better now. When you're in a place where your body's rolling from working out, eating well, all that,
Yeah.
it actually can handle that, and it moves it through quick. And some studies have said that when you have something like that, it gets your furnace going harder again for the next meals that come after. But it's sad. So as we kind of come towards the close, what's your listening? You brought it up in the beginning. You haven't gone to the Anthony Cumia into this new endeavor he's done, right?
No, you know what? You had a great podcast. The last one that I listened to was about the Yahoo News
Yahoo
Digest.
News Digest.
Really cool. And one thing that you mentioned that really sparked my interest was, like you said, the amount of content. There is not enough time, even close in the day, to try and cover, the amount that's actually out there. And you brought it up. I mean, when you started doing this, I guess it's a year ago, pretty
Yep.
much, right? You turned me on to podcasts, and that's pretty much in the car. When I'm doing workouts at home or walking or running, podcasts are always on. You mentioned in the podcast that or in last week's that your phone is pretty much your audio, content source, and
Yeah.
you're listening to whatever you can while you're on the go. The amount that's out there is so much. You can't even keep up with it. So I got into, after I listened to it, reading that digest. I'm like 2 days in. And you're right; it's delivered in a really cool way, and you mentioned just the Anthony Cumia. I mean, would I love to be able to listen to everything, and then at the same time keep up with my news and all the tech stuff, and all the amount of stuff that's happening in the world right now is incredible, and just So you asked, what am I listening to?
Yeah. Who are your?
I mean, like I've been listening to. I love Bill Burr. He's got to have my favorite podcast.
It's once a week, right?
Yeah.
That's like and it's an hour or something.
Yeah, it's about an hour every time, and the guy, he's he's so clever with his comedy. I love him, and he's great. I'm keeping up with my news, world news, and all the tech stuff too. I mean, I love tech, love games, and so yeah. I mean, I'm out there. It's hard to keep up, and but I'm out there.
I love that. Yeah. I love that Yahoo News Digest.
Yeah,
And
anyone who's listening, that thing, if you didn't listen to Matt's podcast, it sounded like a sales pitch,
I know, right?
but it actually is the way he described it. And I was thinking about it when I was, just reading stories. It's delivered to you in such a way that is,
It's made
today's,
for it.
yeah, it
Yeah. And I
is.
love that it's a 17-year-old kid
Yeah,
who's telling
incredible.
Katie Couric
It's incredible.
how to do this. It's a perfectly modern thing, and I really hope for Yahoo's sake that it works out because I can't read the New York Times every day
Yeah,
anymore. I'm trying to read long form stuff which is more fulfilling, but like a New York Times is trying to compete with both sides. These guys don't compete. They send you this thing. You almost could get away with just reading. You could do it anyway with what you want. Whatever you have 1 minute, you have 20 minutes, you'll get what you need out of it. If you have 1 minute, you read the headlines and a couple of blurbs,
yep,
and it is amazing how well that algorithm pulls out the key
yep.
blurbs
And then
and succinctly gives it to you, has block quotes, pictures, Wikipedia, maps.
And yeah, you can take it a lot further if you're really interested in it,
Yeah,
or you can just get your quick fix of the data and the
I love
information
it.
and move on.
You get it twice a day, and you get the feeling of finishing something.
The only thing that they don't have is they don't have the gamification that all these apps come up with now. I mean, I'd love to see them.
You know what?
Do you have you use Waze on your phone, right?
A
Or
little bit. Google bought it, so it's kind of integrated a
okay.
little bit into Google. I stick with Google a lot.
Because they try to gamify everything with points and all this kind of stuff. I think it'd be pretty cool if they found a way to that you could have friends on there or your other contacts and try to keep up with the news and keep pace with other people.
Yeah, would be good. Or have a quiz or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. It'd
Quiz
be
would be
great.
cool. But I love that they did the right thing, and I like being in the vanguard on the front end of people hate on Yahoo like it's the old Yahoo,
Yeah,
and every move Yahoo makes, it adds to people's narrative that they're crappy. Oh, they're buying a 17-year-old kid's thing. That doesn't make any sense. That's a PR thing to get credit for getting a 17-year-old kid. Oh, they got Katie Couric. Why would you buy Katie Couric? She failed on this network show
yeah,
or that one. Oh, they got David Pogue from the Times. Oh. But it's all feeding an actual narrative of success for the future. It's not feeding it. If you think in the old way, it's feeding it that way. But the first time I saw that, I loved it, and it was. But I don't read on that. So when it came to the iPad, I was like, okay, I'm done with my. If I'm done with the New York Times being my daily thing, I read my long form stuff, and I read that. And if that has something, which it often does, if that has something that has the New York Times in it, I click and read it through there because
sure.
it means it was good enough to it means it was good enough to get included in there based on the algorithms. And I love that they have so many different sources, so I have a feel that I'm getting the best representation of who's talking about that story. I mean, there's too much news, which is great. It's like a bonanza of news of people starting sites. Going back to Bill Simmons' Grantland. When you look at the Vox with Ezra Klein of the Washington Post, when you look at the guy who did the Snowden tapes, Glenn Greenwald, he opened up the Intercept, and the guy who started eBay, I think, bought into him, or PayPal, one of those. There's so much news, and it's all great. But when you're the consumer, you're kind of caught in this world of constellations of news moving all over the place, and you only have time to latch on to like one central place, and you want the best from all of it. But if I choose to go to Grantland, that's going to be my only destination because
Yeah,
I only have that time to do it. And then if you get through great articles, and then you go, oh, well, that was sports and pop culture, but I didn't read anything about what's happening with ISIS, or I didn't hear anything about what's happening with this news item, or what's happening in Ferguson. And this does it. You're totally up to date, and you're totally fulfilled. And I don't know if you saw the other part, if you have it on the iPad. If you swipe right, it has more sections. Like it'll have entertainment,
yeah.
all those, and it'll have like 2 to 6 based on the section, so you can get more. So yeah,
No, yeah. That is it's certainly a a heck of an app, and it's like you said, there's so many different sources that you go to the one and like you said, the Yahoo thing is often a joke. they're second rate in Google and
Well, they're worth nothing. People
yeah.
said all of their worth is tied up in the fact that they had that stake in Alibaba.
But this moving forward, this I think it's going to change things. It's a heck of a it's a good product.
Or others should follow.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, the New York Times has a version of an app which is great. I don't understand why everyone's just doing it starting on mobile. I did a little flash poll on my Facebook. I asked everybody, I said, let me know if you have A, a smartphone only, B, a tablet only, or C, both. Everybody said both.
Yeah.
So why they're making these for the mobile device doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like the New York Times and the Yahoo News Digest, Marissa Mayer at Yahoo has built up a mobile division of 500 people from like what was maybe a dozen when she started. The New York Times made a staff of 20 just to service the NYT Now app. Why you're doing that, I don't know. I would always start with the iPad if it's a news app. You have better space. You have more of a chance to spread it around. I think you'll fail if it's only the phone because I don't think people. I don't read on my phone. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't either. It's not. You're right. You mentioned something. You were dead on that the phone is for audio. For me.
It feels that way.
And for a phone, obviously, for communication. But yeah, when I get home or when I want to consume something that's out there, I'm gonna open up my iPad and take it in that way. It's just a much easier read. You feel more comfortable with it.
You get more space to read too. Like if you're on your phone, you're scrolling forever on any article of even moderate length, and if you turn it sideways, you're really scrolling forever. It's such a small amount, and I know everyone's going to the phablets. And I'll tell you what, the new iPhone is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Got a guy at work who got it, and he picked it up before work yesterday.
Okay.
He had the 4.7. It's beautiful. I was talking to a guy who was on here before you, and I was saying that the iPhones remind me now, I don't know if you had the same thought, but of the Batmobile. You remember the like the Adam West Batmobile?
Yeah.
Back then you went, that's so cool. That's like really awesome how that looks. Then the Michael Keaton Batmobile came, and you went, whoa,
yeah,
that's like futuristic.
Yeah.
Then the next one came, and you went, whoa, it's like almost like some weird hybrid SUV speed car. And now the one that's coming out in the new one, it's like the way have you seen the new Ninja Turtles? How different they look from the old one?
Yeah.
Like that's how these devices are getting. So when you had the 5 and you had the 5S, you looked at it and said, there's no way you could perfect this device.
Sure.
Every time they perfect the device to be better, the new one is unbelievable. It feels like the screen almost wraps to the very edges. It's so thin, and it's like, it's a whole different device, it feels like. So I might get the 5.5. The guy Nick, who was on before,
big one, right?
He got the big one. This guy at work had the 4.7. It was a perfect size, but
I can't imagine holding that thing up to your head though.
Well, it's somewhere. It's only slightly smaller than this Google Nexus.
Put it up to your head. Come on. Yeah, look ridiculous.
Well, if you think about it, which is crazy, no one even uses their phones to talk anymore.
I mean, yeah, you know what? I find that a lot. I do actually. I mean, when I yeah, there he goes again. If I'm talking with someone, it's generally like when I like to keep my hands free at work. So I mean, I got my buds in. I put my buds in. If I'm.
Are you Apple stock buds?
Apple,
do you keep those, or do you got Beats or something?
No, I'm not a Beats guy. I'm a Skull Candy guy, I guess. I just like comfort, more than anything. And and they're pretty cheap too. But anyway, no, I like to keep my hands free. So if I feel my phone ringing, I'll just throw in the buds so I can keep my hands working on the laptop or on a panel. And then I do a lot of talking in the car too, obviously on Bluetooth. So yeah, I mean, but the phone the iPhone as a tool for work is just it's incredible.
So much computing power. It's like more than the original NASA spaceship, I think they said.
I couldn't imagine having these things or a world where we didn't have these things, where like all of a sudden I have a notepad in my hand, I have a flashlight in my hand, I have a walkie-talkie in my hand, or I'd call it a walkie-talkie, a radio, and in my business, they've become so incredibly valuable, and or just having a MapQuest right in your hand.
Oh yeah.
If we're remembering MapQuest, I mean, going from service call to service call was just incredibly difficult. You have to call for directions. Oh, it was a disaster. And but yeah, having all these things, and just how about you can actually get a hold of me or anytime. It's wild.
It does so much, and the weird thing with the new iOS 8, it it accepts Wi-Fi calling now.
Okay.
So I actually I have to remember to shut this off. I forget every single time though until it happens. When someone's calling you on your phone, all of your iDevices start ringing too. I could pick up a call from you on my iPad through Wi-Fi calling.
Okay.
It just comes over the thing. So as long as I'm on Wi-Fi, I could accept that call. It's very weird. And you see, you can leave. Did you upgrade yet?
No, I upgraded my pad,
Oh yeah, you got a jailbreak.
but I'm jailbroken on the phone, so I don't want to mess with it. Or
You can send audio text messages now,
I
video
saw that.
text message. I like it. I like the new iOS 8. It's nice and evolutionary. It's got a bunch of good little updates to it. But now I got my little toy, Google, my Google Nexus. I like it. I'm all Google stuff anyway. So it's cool to have that kind of setup in here because yeah, literally I almost use everything, and then I can interface it well with my Chromecasts, and it ends up being a slightly expensive remote.
pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I think now I can get the new iPhone without feeling like I'm losing anything out, because honestly it's not that different than.
We just I just finished a training program with a new product in the aspirating smoke detector world that features an Android tablet as its main
Oh.
display for all the smoke enunciation and everything. It's pretty cool. You can take it out and walk around with it. You can give it to the customer, and they can monitor their smoke condition from a tablet, which
Well,
is
that's
pretty
cool until
Right.
the new operating system comes.
Yeah, exactly. So
The final thing I wanted to bring up, because I just thought of it, something I read. Have you seen that base jumping from the Freedom Towers?
no.
Oh my God! I
Illegally or
yeah.
okay.
In reading my
Oh no, I did see the news story, but I didn't read into it that
oh
much.
my God, it was there was a big New Yorker article about GoPro,
Yeah.
and I'm not a big GoPro guy. I guess it's like more for kind of people who do like outdoor sports and
Yeah.
stuff and someone was just robbed at gunpoint and they had the GoPro on, so they like caught their whole being robbed.
Yeah. Wow.
But these guys, I read about it in this article, and they snuck into the Freedom Tower site, climbed up the whole building, and jumped off the top,
It's incredible.
and with the GoPro on, and it was completely surreal. I mean, you can't make that kind of thing up. They're at the top, they're like, all right, let's do it, and you're looking down. It is so far, and they got like caught because someone saw them running away. Like the guy he comes down and he puts his the guy who had the GoPro on waited a long time until he opened up his chute too. I don't know how people do that. I never do it, but then he's like coasting in onto New York streets.
That's wild.
And then he's running, and he's got this huge parachute behind him running with him, and someone caught him. I think I saw that they might, if they get if they get called guilty, they could go to jail for 7 years.
Well, that is the one that documentary Man on Wire.
Oh yeah. I saw parts of that. I didn't.
Oh God, it's so good. I just the setup of and you're talking about a time where I guess it's when the World Trade Center was being commissioned or built. They were I guess it was 76 or I don't know when it was exactly, but the story of the setup of how I don't want to misquote the movie. If anyone hasn't seen that, that's a heck of a documentary. And just the way that they had to build this entire tightrope between the two towers to have the guy walk across it was
with
incredible.
no net or anything. He
Oh
just
no.
walked.
Yeah.
I was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, but I mean, just the whole entire, because you're talking about an integration between, at the time they had to set up two teams on each tower to properly set up the cable system
Wow.
and anchor it to the building. And it was during the construction of the towers, and they had to hide, and they had security they had to deal with, and all these things. So it reminds me very much of that. And I
Yeah.
I think it, to do something like that for someone to get in a boatload of trouble for, I understand it, but you also have to respect the, unless he had some kind of political
No, it was just
just
straight up guys wanting to jump off, and
I mean, to me, that's pretty cool. Just like the guy who went across the World Trade Center on the tightrope. I think he went to jail for a while too. And I get it, trespassing. I get it. I understand the whole thing. But you know what? At a certain point, he's not hurting anyone.
you know what scared me the most with that though, and it was the one thing in my mind, and the reason I wanted to see it. And going down the YouTube rabbit hole, it led me where I didn't want to go, but what I was thinking about is, and it sort of is, it follows along the lines with all these beheadings and stuff. Like I don't want to watch them, and it sickens me that these happen. Where guys like, can you imagine standing in front of someone and then you're about to get like you feel a certain part of it and it's happening, but I'm I see these guys jump off. The guy jumps off with the GoPro. First, the one guy jumps and you see him go.
Yeah.
Then the next guy jumps. He does a flip and then waits, turns it on. But you hear the amount of wind that's coming up on him that as he's jumping. And I saw in the pain-related videos, and it did a video montage of the jumpers from 9/11,
Yeah.
and that was partially why I wanted to see this video because I wanted to like just almost like stone it, get just like imbued into me what that was like. And now these guys had parachutes towards the end, obviously. But I went to the jumper video, and I'd seen the pictures. I'd never seen the videos of this. And to see a human kind of up in the area where you just had no shot and the smoke's coming out and everything, and they're all outside yelling to each other, the decision at that point that things are so hot and all this stuff to just you know what's happening and just to give up, and then you see in the video them coming and they're alive the whole time thinking about what's happening there, and then they're just you're just totally like splat gone, and I was just watching that like, oh, it's
It
so awful.
that is something that it, not that specifically, but obviously I wasn't, fortunately wasn't personally affected. I didn't have any family that was hurt or injured or killed in 9/11. But I mean, to think about that as a, you know for personally, and especially our age. I mean, how old were we? 18.
But 19, I was there. I mean,
Yeah.
not at the World Trade Center. I was in New York, but
So
yeah.
the one thing that I'm gonna, not necessarily, not the one thing. I mean, I struggled with it for a while, the years following, and I struggled with it that day. Just thinking about how different the world was going to be. And I remember that at the time I was working over at Record Town over in Primus Park, and then right when they opened up the store, I had all these, and at this point, you didn't. I guess you had cell phones, but you didn't have smartphones, and you heard on the radio. We had to open up a radio in the store. One of these, we opened up a box or whatever, turn on the radio, and right away, like they had closed the mall, and I guess it was a personal or a protection thing or a safety thing where they just closed the mall. And so I ended up leaving, and I remember driving from Route 17 all the way back up to Mawa, and the entire southbound direction was completely log jammed. It was stopped the entire way. And you know 17 very well. When you're getting up to where Bottle King is on the top of the hill, you could see the towers
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
easily. I watched from the Bottle King parking lot the second tower go down.
Oh my God, that must
And
have been bizarre from there.
because you actually saw the incredible amount of smoke that was left over for days and weeks after. That was the entire skyline of New York. And but to watch it, the second tower because I had known and listened to the radio that a collapse, and you don't know what a collapse is when you're listening on the radio. You think it fell down to the side, you think it
Yeah.
fell down, and to actually see what a collapse looks like. And I know that I was miles away, probably 20 miles away, but the vantage point was very clear. The entire parking lot was filled. Everyone stopped. Everyone was looking. I mean, if you could see it, you were stopped and looking. So that to me is something that's a lasting image. And I don't know how many people, unfortunately, that I saw die at that one moment. But yeah, it's sad and it was a long ways away. But that whole thing is incredibly difficult to think about. You know,
And thank God
going
we didn't
forward.
have smartphones.
Yeah, I think there would have been a lot more.
Calls,
Yeah,
tweets,
and
YouTube video. I mean,
yeah,
it just I think about this a lot because I live a very safe life. Like
yeah,
I live a life where I've not been put in imminent danger for things, or I'm not living on the risky edge or anything. But they weren't, and they were just at work. I know people who go over to the Middle East, they can get picked up by an ISIS, and then you're in risk. So they sort of flew there. They made the decision knowing they were going to a war zone. These people didn't, and I often think, what is going through your head? Is it sort of like they say when you're towards the end of your life, especially maybe when you're in hospice on your deathbed, that your body is flooded with endorphins, almost like, you know, like morphine, that your body is shooting at you because it knows this is it and it wants to make it as easy as possible. Like, I wonder if things like that happen, because how any human, I mean, obviously time is just going to make it happen, and it's just going to happen, but there's a living, breathing, thinking person with a brain that is coping with that situation in that moment, and is in some cases jumping because where they are is so bad and it was so hot and all that. And I often think about those when they show those pictures or the video, especially the pictures. They have that famous one, the jumper, where the person's like kind of flipped around, and you're just like, in that moment they know.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's high. That's really high.
That's heavy too. I mean, to think about that, and just like you mentioned too, with the executions that happen. I mean, the whole thing just really bothers me. That and I hate to because we can go on for days, for hours about these kind of topics, but to think about all of this that is happening, and you know what it all boils down to for me is and again, I hate to bring up another subject, but the whole thing is it's incredible that this is all happening. I would think because of religion, you know, something that that people are fighting for, something that they're not even sure of.
Intangible.
Yeah, there's not, and to me, I get it. I understand faith, and I understand your right to faith, but I can't understand what the lengths that people go to that I would never go to for my faith, for my religion, you know?
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's intangible. And you just don't know. If you knew, it'd be a different, if you had some facts to factor into your decision making, then it kind of makes sense. But if you don't have any facts and you're deciding off of faith, or you're deciding off of something that
what other humans are saying, or
Exactly.
interpreting a book to say
it's incredible.
that these are lesser than humans, go out there and cut their heads off, or
Yeah.
I mean, it's just murderous rage. It's like and going through cities and killing everybody, running them up into mountains, and then you come down, you're dead. We are so lucky.
Yeah. No, I don't take it for granted for 1 second.
No, and it's unfair. I mean, our luck, how unfair. It's almost unfair.
Yeah.
I mean, we can be happy in it, but that's why America should be doing more, not necessarily overseas, but they should be doing more internally to use our distinct advantage to leapfrog other places, instead of just say, well, the rest of the world isn't so great, so we'll just we'll just kind of stay low as the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
That's funny. That was the Yahoo News Digest, that little noise.
Came through, huh?
Getting
6
delivered
o'clock?
6 o'clock.
Yep.
What's the news today? So we'll have to go see that. So I think we'll call that, and then we can do this again.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Yeah, I can't. You know what? I can't wait to do.
You're in the podcast.
I'm in. I'm here.
Right.
And I love the studio you got. It's cool, man. And you know what? I've listened to all your podcasts. I'm a big fan. So keep it up and congratulations on your
Awesome.
year. You know.
A year. Thank you very much. Coming on. The
Yeah.
best of. Later, folks.
All right.